I didn't say the questions were out of line.
Okay,
I didn't say the questions were out
all
of
right,
line.
okay,
But I'm not.
Oh, no, I understand.
I'm sorry,
asking-
but I'm not going to put Russia Today on the same level with the rest of you who are
Well-
representing
Do you have an issue with my
independent
question?
media
Well, hold on,
outlets.
but
Go to Syria?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, can you clarify what is going on in terms of where the Russians are bombing? I mean, some say in Aleppo, but there's no evidence that there's any bombardment of eastern Aleppo by the Russians. There is bombardment of Idlib and Homs and so on the countryside of Homs. So first of all, if you have information on where they are bombing and what is going on there.
Well, I don't have, as you know, Saeed, I don't have specific tactical information about Russian military operations in terms of, grid points and locations on a map.
Right.
I would say, though, that we have seen additional airstrikes now
Right.
in Syria by Russia and by the regime, to include what has been reported to be, and we have no reason to doubt this because of the sourcing that we're getting, that 5 hospitals and at least 1 mobile clinic in Syria were struck by. What's that?
Which city were the hospitals in?
I don't have the exact location, but so 5 hospitals and 1 mobile clinic, and by all counts, looks like they were deliberately targeted. All in the span of just the last day or so. It's also worth noting that despite Russian claims that it halted airstrikes in the past month or so,
28 days.
yeah, they've allowed no food or humanitarian assistance into East Aleppo. And the regime and Russia have now let Aleppo's residents starve, all while seeking praise from the international community for halting indiscriminate strikes for 3 weeks. Again, 5 hospitals and at least 1, maybe more, mobile clinic. That doesn't sound to me like a halt in indiscriminate attacks.
Now, the Russians are, excuse me, just let me follow up with a couple of things. The Russian Defense Ministry claims that it is actually the rebels who are, or the military groups who are holding back the aid. They are disallowing the public from reaching that humanitarian aid. And in fact, they're saying that there was some sort of demonstration by the public, and that was crushed, brutally by the different militant groups and so on. So I want, how do you sort out through all this, this kind of conflicting information and so on? How do you get your information in this case?
Look, it's a very fluid situation, and our knowledge is imperfect. That's why we say we've seen reports of these things, and I don't have specifics for you. I don't have specific locations. Hang on a second. I'm
Don't you
answering
think it is
Saeed.
important?
We don't have that. I'm saying we've seen these reports, and they fly in the face of everything Russia says it's doing in Syria and specifically in Aleppo. So I don't have, I don't have eaches on this, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to get into that anyway.
So you would refute
But
the claim by the Russians that they have, they've stopped or they had a moratorium on striking Aleppo, eastern Aleppo, for the past 28 days. In fact, all the while, where the militant groups were striking western Aleppo.
So we've also seen reports that about opposition groups that were limiting or trying to be an obstacle to humanitarian aid and assistance, and we've made it clear to the opposition groups that we communicate with, and certainly to nations who have influence over other opposition groups, that that these reports are troubling and concerning, and obviously, to the degree they're true, that obstruction should not occur. That said, it's without question that it is the regime and its Russian backers that have had the by far the most responsibility for stopping the violence, for stopping the strikes, and for allowing the aid to get in, which they haven't done. I mean, I don't know how many times now I've been to this podium talking about the fact that no humanitarian aid's getting into Aleppo, and that hasn't changed. It hasn't changed one bit.
Don't you think it is important to give a specific list of hospitals that you're accusing Russia of hitting? Those are grave accusations.
I'm not making those accusations. I'm telling you, we've seen reports from credible aid organizations that 5 hospitals and a clinic,
Which
at least one
in
clinic.
what cities, at least?
You can go look at the information that many of the Syrian relief agencies are putting out there publicly. We're getting our information from them too. These
But you're
reports,
citing those reports without giving any specifics.
because we believe these agencies are credible, and because we have other sources of information that back up what we're seeing from
Well-
some of these reports. And you know what? Why don't
If
you
you-
ask? Here's a good
Exactly.
question. Why don't
That's
you
what I'm-
ask your defense ministry
That's what I
what
was-
they're doing,
If you give
and
a
see if you
specific
can
list,
get? No.
If you
no,
give
no.
a specific list of hospitals,
No.
my colleagues who are
I'm
listening
supposed to-
hopefully would be able to go and ask Russian officials about a specific list of hospitals that
You
you're
work for
accusing
Russia Today, right? Isn't
That
that your
is
agency?
correct.
And so,
Yes.
why shouldn't you ask your government the same kinds of questions that you're standing here asking me?
When you're
Ask
leveling-
them about their military activities. Get them to tell you what, or
When
to
I
deny
ask
what
for
they're doing.
specifics, it seems your response is, "Why are you here?" Well, you are leveling that accusation,
No,
and
ma'am.
if you give specifics,
No,
my
ma'am.
colleagues would be able
No,
to
ma'am.
ask Russian
Once
officials.
again, you're just wrong. I'm not leveling those accusations. Relief agencies that we find credible are leveling those accusations. So
But
why
you
don't you
agree with
question
that?
them about their information and where they're getting it? And why don't you question your own defense
Which
ministry?
organizations then? Which ones?
Well, we'll
Where
get you.
should I
We'll
look?
get you a list of them after the briefing. I don't have it right here in front of me, but I'm happy to provide to you some of the
And-
relief agencies that are telling us what they're seeing on the
And
ground.
specifically on blocking aid within the 28 days that Russia and Syria had stopped the airstrikes in eastern Aleppo, and I understand they were resumed by the Syrian military yesterday. Can you give any specific information on when Russia or the Syrian government blocked the UN from delivering aid? Just any
There
specific
hasn't
information.
been any aid delivered in the last month.
And you believe it was blocked exclusively by Russia and
There's
the
no
Syrian
question
government?
in our mind that the obstruction is coming from the regime and from Russia. No question at all. Ma'am.
I just
Wait, hold on. Just when you say, please be careful about saying your defense minister and things like that. I mean, she's a journalist, just like the rest of us are. So it's, she's asking pointed questions, but they're not,
From a state-owned,
but
from a
they're-
state-owned,
but they're not-
from a
but they're-
state-owned outlet,
but they're
Matt,
not-
from a state-owned
the
outlet
questions
that's not
that she's asking
independent.
are not out of line.
I didn't say the questions were out of line.
Okay.
I didn't say
mean,
the questions were out
all
of
right.
line.
Okay.
But
I
I'm
mean,
not.
Oh, no, I understand.
I'm
but
sorry,
asking-
but I'm not going to put Russia Today on the same level with the rest of you who are
Well- Do
you have
representing
an issue with my
independent
question?
media
Well, hold on,
outlets.
but look, there. Well, we can talk about this later offline. But just the question is not an inappropriate question to ask.
Didn't say that it was, but I also think it should be asked of their own defense ministry,
Okay.
which they don't do, which Russia Today doesn't do. Saeed, did you have one?
Iraq.